In this video, I'm going to walk through how to automate basically the entire sales process, from being able to get the leads all the way to booking the meeting in your calendar, 99.9% automated using make.com. The first question is, where do we get leads from? Well, there are three top ways we get leads. The first one is your network, second one is outbound, and the third one is inbound. Network is basically you make a list of every single person that you know, and let's just say there's 50 people, and then you make a list of every single business owner that they know. And then you'd contact your contact, and then you basically say, hey, I want you to connect to the Jim who runs X, Y, and Z manufacturing, and here's my value proposition, right? So that's network. That's one of the best and the easiest ways to get up and running when starting your own agency. The second way is outbound, which I'm going to walk through in just a second, but I'll talk about inbound for a second. Inbound is basically LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. It's where you create content, and those platforms will push out your content to people that it'll think it's relevant to. So if those people find it relevant and there's a certain amount of need for it, those people will end up sending you a message, and then you'd go on and have the meetings from there. And typically those close rates are about 60%. Very high, because that's already a very, very warm audience. Now, outbound, which is how I've been able to generate 99% of my leads. Outbound, there are three main ways to do outbound. There's number one, there's cold calling, which you pick up the phone and you start dialing people cold, and you basically deliver your three things: your offer, risk reversal, and case study. The second way is you cold email people, is where you build an email infrastructure, which I'm going to walk through examples today. You build out a cold email infrastructure, and then you start sending cold emails to people by, again, the same thing: your risk reversal, your offer, risk reversal, and case study. Third way is cold DMing, which I don't really play around with, because LinkedIn, for example, has a certain cap on it. You cannot send more than 35 messages a day, and I just don't think it's worth the ROI, especially considering you can't use any automated tools on LinkedIn. Otherwise, they will. Okay. Well, Gurinder, what does it look like? So the types of sales systems that you can automate, and I'm actually going to provide real life examples. So the first one is, well, we need leads. Where do we get the leads from? We would get the leads from something called Apollo, and there's a lead scraper right here. It's called Apollo Scraped 50,000 Leads. And this is probably one of the best ways to be able to do it, because you could actually automate it. And you go to Apollo, you find a link, you paste it in here, and then you basically start running. Once you do that, once you run the actor, you would basically get the data set item, and this will basically get all the leads for you, packaged fairly nicely. And let's just say you scrape about 10,000 leads. You'd get those 10,000 leads, you put them in Google Sheets. Once you put them into Google Sheets, you would validate all those emails. You got to validate them. I noticed about only 30% of emails are actually good, regardless of what platform that you use, even Sales Navigator. So once you validate those leads, you basically update the Google Sheets with only the validated emails. And then now you basically have a list of probably 4,000 fully validated leads. The next way, in fact, this is not validate those leads. You got to enrich these leads. Now you want to write some kind of custom icebreaker. And the way I do it is I have these validated leads. I have them right here. And I would basically have ChatGPT write me a customized icebreaker to personalize the messaging. So here's the reason we're connecting. ChatGPT would go out, it would basically go on that person's LinkedIn profile, it'd read its entire LinkedIn profile, and then would come back and say, okay, here's a custom icebreaker for this particular lead. And it would return all that data to us in a JSON format, and basically we would convert it back into text. Once we convert it into text, we would update this Google Sheet, and then we would upload all those leads in instantly, which is the cold email infrastructure that I use to be able to send 500, 600, 1,000 cold emails a day. Now, when you send out emails, you're going to start to get positive responses. When you get positive responses, it'll basically get the message that the prospect sends you saying, hey, I'm interested in booking a meeting, will automatically update Google Sheets. Google Sheets will have that HTML, will have that text, and it'll go to ChatGPT, and it'll say, hey, here's a message this prospect sent me a message. How do I respond to it? Then you'll give it some prompts on how to typically respond to those type of messages. ChatGPT will respond to those messages. It'll go back into Google Sheets, paste that message, so there's a record of it, And then once that message has been pasted in Google Sheets, it'll go back into Instantly and it'll actually send that message out to that person that sent an email. So for example, Billy Bob says, hey, yeah, I'm interested in booking a meeting with you. What's your calendar look like? ChatGPT will go out and say, hey, I'm available on Monday at 4 or Tuesday at 5. And then when ChatGPT says that, it updates the Google Sheets and that message gets sent to that prospect using Instantly. Now, that person messages back saying, hey, I'm interested in booking a meeting for Tuesday at 5. We go to cal.com. We actually book that meeting. Once we book that meeting, we update that task in ClickUp by saying interested lead to booked discovery call. Once we book a discovery call, we would send them an email saying, hey, Billy Bob, just booked a meeting for Tuesday at 5. Looking forward to seeing you then. That's it. Now, once you do that, you basically, after the discovery call, so you have the discovery call with them and you mark that discovery call as now a sales call because you had that discovery call and now you mark it as a sales call, letting our make.com system know that, hey, now is a good time to be able to send them some sales assets so they're more prepared for the call that we have on, say, Wednesday. So we use a custom webhook. We go to ClickUp and we basically update ClickUp from saying discovery to sales call. And then we will send them a draft email by saying, hey, look, here's what we spoke about. You have this issue and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday at 5. Right? The reason I have this as a draft email is because I do not want to send an email right away, having a generic email sent out to them. I actually, right before, so when I moved that meeting from discovery call to sales call, a draft gets created with all my templated information. Then I just go in there, input certain personal stuff in that email myself, right? Takes me about 15-20 minutes, but because this is a very high leverage activity, because now you're going from a discovery call, you know they're qualified, and you're going for a sales call, you want to make sure you do an extremely good job, and I wouldn't rely on ChatGPT just yet for this. So spend the time that it takes to be able to do something like this. Okay, so now what we want to do, after the sales call, we want to send them a contract, right? And again, this process is entirely automated. So we go from sales call, and we move that stage from sales call to send contract. ChatGPT will automatically send the contract, make.com would automatically send the contract to the prospect. And once it sends the contract, it'll send them a draft email. It'll basically say something along the lines of, hey, just sent you over the paperwork. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And then we want to input some personal information in the side of that message as well. Hence why I have it create a draft. So basically, this is probably will do 90% of the work for you. I think make.com is fantastic to be able to automate majority of the sales process, and whatever output I'm able to give, it'll basically help me multiply my efforts by 5 times. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.